Production funding for Behind the Headlines is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
A new push for consolidated local government tonight on Behind the Headlines. I'm Eric Barnes with the Daily Memphian. Thanks for joining us. I am joined tonight by Reginald Milton from the Shelby County Commission. Reginald, thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Chase Carlisle from the Memphis City Council. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Along with Bill Dries with the Daily Memphian. So you all are both at front and center on an effort to bring up consolidated government. Let's do kind of briefly what consolidation is. One of those things when you say it in Memphis, and Bill can do the history here in a minute about various consolidation efforts, with schools, government, so on and so forth. When you say consolidation, I think it's one of those things people immediately know what it means, right? They have a lot of preconceived notions about this is what this is and isn't. So let's walk through, and I'll start with you, Reginald. Okay. What does this involve and what does it not involve?
Well, first of all, what it involves is the effort of us trying to do something. The reality is that this city, this area, we're stuck in the mud. And we need to do something. And I think that's what drew me to this from the very beginning. And I believe that the effort of trying to bring some people together who can look at this, just look at it, I think is a positive direction that we need to go in, because I am not going to take anything off the table right now for us to try to move forward.
Councilman?
Yeah, Reg said it very well. I think you said on two things. One is right and one is a little wrong, in the sense that there's a lot of preconceived notions about what consolidation means or a merger, and that's right. I think knowledge is the hard part. There are very few things under our state laws that we can do as a government structure or things to accelerate growth or look at ways and opportunities to improve our community through the structure. And our state law allows the largest principal city, which is Memphis, it's roughly two-thirds of our county, to merge with the county government. And so it's not a surrender. It's a merger. It stays under home rule because the county is under home rule. The city of Memphis is under home rule. And so we have an opportunity to explore ways in which that merger could benefit not only Memphis and the county, but the region together.
Some quick questions. I want to go to Bill. Does it involve combining the school systems?
No, it does not.
Does it mean more taxes or different tax structure?
It does mean a different tax structure. There are potentially up to 3 taxing districts under a consolidated or merged government. An urban services district, a general services district, things like regional transportation authority could be a thing for MATA as we look at affordable transportation. What I will say, though, that's important about that taxing structure is nobody wants anybody else's problems. The debt that is with Memphis homeowners stays with the household. That's state law. The debt that is with the county and even the proportionate share of the city households of the county side, of their taxpaying side, stays with them.
Does this involve combining with Germantown, with Bartlett, with Collierville, with the suburban government?
No. And a simple answer to the tax issue is we don't know. The reality is we assume it's going to be lower. Logically, it should be. But the reality, until we get that team together and look at it, there's going to be some questions.
Last one mayor, not 2.
One mayor.
One council commission, not a city council and a county commission.
Correct.
Combined.
Okay, let me go to Bill.
All right. The city council has a meeting on September 7th, I believe.
Yes,
Tuesday. Will you have a resolution on the agenda to form a charter commission?
There will be a resolution on the committee agenda to discuss forming a charter commission.
Okay. And Commissioner, I believe you have said that you're going to wait, see where this goes with the city before you introduce it on the county side?
It's only the logical way of doing it. We'll wait till the city has made their move and then we will follow behind.
All right. What have you heard from your fellow commissioners, and does what you've heard add up to 7 votes at this point?
Well, let me say that You know, it's still a little early on this. We have been talking with people. Most of the individuals I've met with, the consensus is that they just want to know more. A lot of people, they know what consolidation is. Like you said, we hear about it, but the truth is a lot of the data is not actually understood. I think one elected official was saying that, well, you know, why do we have to give up our charter? And obviously we're not going to give up our charter. So there's a lot of misinformation out there as well. So this is going to be education. And I think once we move past that, I believe a lot of the fears are going to go away.
All right. Councilman, same question to you. Do you hear 7 votes, not necessarily for consolidation, but for forming a charter commission?
I hear a lot of interest in exploring things that can make it better. I've had the opportunity, as you may have heard or seen through my comments, to really dig in and study this issue. It's complex. There's a lot of data. There's TASA reports, there's state statute, there's RAND studies, there's all sorts of information. And what I heard from my colleagues on our last meeting was, we have Chase, we respect you and we understand that you spend a lot of time on this, and we just want to take time to start to absorb this, let the public absorb it for consumption and understand what the pros and cons are. And I'm happy to walk down that road and give them the time to catch up to where I am.
Is it possible that a charter commission could be formed, appointed by each of the mayors, and then that charter commission comes back with a report and says, we don't think there should be consolidation of city and county government, but we think that these things should change and keep that structure? Are they bound to propose consolidation?
Yeah. By state statute, they are bound to research and explore and write a constitution and turn it over no less than 80 days and no more than 100 days from the next county-wide election.
And do understand, though, that they still have to come back to the City Council and County Commission to allow us to throw in the last few words before it's finished. They give us a draft. So there will be a moment for us to include some points that we have as well. So that still allows an opportunity.
But it goes on the ballot when they complete their work, and it doesn't need
It goes to election commission, yes.
Exactly.
Okay, it goes directly to the election commission.
And they have
It
80
goes
to 100
on the ballot.
Right.
All right.
Let me stay with you, Bill, and do a bit of a history here. I mean, the most recent really big consolidation issue that came up was the school consolidation back around the time we started the show, so some 10 years ago, when the Memphis City Council gave up, Memphis City Schools. Yeah, I know. Don't quote me on that. Memphis City Schools gave up its charter, was absorbed into Shelby County Schools, which then ran just the suburban school districts. It was a big. I mean, we did approximately 1,000 shows on school consolidation and then deconsolidation. The state got involved, and we ended up with Shelby County Schools essentially being the old Memphis City Schools footprint, essentially, and we ended up with independent suburban school districts. Besides that one, which I did an okay job describing, there have been other consolidation efforts. Why don't you walk us through some of those?
Well, the last consolidation charter that was proposed and went to the voters in a dual referendum, which is a part of state law, a referendum in the city of Memphis and a referendum outside the city of Memphis, was in 2010, and it was defeated. 2010 is also, at the end of that year, was when the Memphis City School Board voted to surrender its charter and started the whole school consolidation process. The Charter Commission formed 11 years ago, in 2010, decided pretty early on that they were not going to touch school consolidation, that they were just going to leave it out of whatever charter that they drafted, and they did. Memphis was a very busy place in terms of change in 2010 around that time. So the school consolidation really unfolded separately from the Memphis city government and Shelby County government consolidation.
That vote, that was 10 years ago, 11 years ago now. In the city of Memphis, it barely passed. In the outside city of Memphis, it went down 3-1 or something like that. What has changed that makes you think, particularly outside the city of Memphis, that you can get over 50% of people to vote for it?
Sure. So one, Bill touched on, I want to make sure, because this is out in the misinformation.
Yep.
The Memphis City Board of Education surrendered its charter and then later took it, I think, maybe to a vote after the fact. Mm-hmm. There is not going to be a legislative move for the city to surrender its charter. a constitution is going to be put out there and asking people to merge their governmental system. So no one is surrendering anything. In the last 10 years, and as Bill was saying, while the school systems, and I think even in the Constitution it says they shall not consolidate, a lot of the fear out in the county suburbs was that there was going to be a consolidation of the school system. A lot of the AIR campaign and a lot of the Whisper campaign was that the school system was a major factor. When you look at Louisville, Jacksonville, a lot of the successful mergers over the last 50, 60 years, they come on the ballot. There's usually one or two major sticking points. There's a failed vote. Those sticking points are worked out, and then it comes back 10 to 12 years, and some with success. A lot has changed in Memphis. The structure of the Shelby County Commission has changed. People's exposure to Memphis. We have the FedEx Forum. We have the Levitt Shell, Overton. You've got a new generation of voters. You have people that have moved out to the county. So I think a lot of evolution has occurred in the municipalities. But I'll tell you what's most changed for me. And this is really what Reg was saying when we opened, Commissioner Milton, I apologize.
That's all right.
When we opened, which is we have to look at options to do something. So here are the quick stats that I'll give you on why we need to explore this and what has changed. From 2010 to 2020, Shelby County lost 2,000 residents. Davidson County gained 89,000 residents. Memphis proper lost 13,000 residents. Nashville proper gained 74,000 residents. Memphis Metro plus 31,000, Nashville plus 343,000. From 2000 to 2020, Shelby County plus 31,000, Davidson plus 164,000, Memphis lost 60,000 residents over 20 years, Nashville gained 144,000. Last one, Memphis Metro over 20 years only gained 135,000 people, and Nashville gained 1.185 million people.
And people often use, Nashville has consolidated government, Memphis doesn't. Why? I mean,
People
why do
talk
you
about bold leadership?
Well, but let me push back on that. Everybody wants bold leadership.
Right.
What do you want that bold leadership to do? Why would consolidated government change these demographic? And is that the reason? I think some people think that is the reason that Nashville's grown. Other people say there's all kinds of other factors that have caused that growth.
There are other factors. There's never one thing. No one wins an election by one thing they've done. No one loses an election. They call it death by 1,000 cuts, right? You can't have bold leadership when you have two head football coaches, two bodies. Even when we have functional consolidation like Edge, the mayors still both have the ability to veto it.
Right.
So how are you going to move forward like that?
Fair enough. Let me bring in Commissioner. What do you, in your mind, what has changed in the last 10, 11 years that you think that there will be more interest in the possibility that this could pass, especially outside the city limits?
I'm not worried about, I'm not going to sit here and talk about what has changed. I'm telling you what hasn't changed. Our situation. We're still stuck. We're not moving forward. And I think the reality of many people in the city and county is that we have a problem. And I represent some of the poorest communities in Tennessee, South Memphis, Orange Mound. I see poverty every day. I see despair. I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like. I even know what it smells like. And I think that for too long we sit around and accept where we are. We've got to change that.
How though? Before I go to Bill, again, I don't know that I've ever had anybody at the table who wouldn't disagree. Or who would disagree, with what you just described. How would consolidated government translate into solving those problems?
And the reality is, look, if you believe consolidated government is going to cure cancer, it's not. And I don't think it is.
Fair enough.
And the reality is that we are, and I'm an analogy person, is that, someone's got to get out of the car. Someone's going to have to get behind the car and push us out of the mud. If you have a better idea, if you have a better plan, I'm open to it. The reality is that we are not moving. And in just the act of us working on this, I think sends out a message that Memphis and Shelby County is in for play. We want to see something happen.
All right, Bill.
What would law enforcement look like? Crime's a huge issue. I suppose it's always been an issue. But what do you think law enforcement looks like in a consolidated city and county?
Well, that is one of the objectives of putting together this charter commission, is to look at that and to ask that question. What will it look like? If I have that answer already, that means I know what this is going to be, and you should be suspect by that.
Okay. Councilman?
Same thing. I want to step back to just piggyback off of what Reg said, talking about poverty and talking about, this idea that this isn't a magic wand, that I'm a city council member and he's a county commissioner, and this is a tool that as a government official we can do. I'm not a shareholder, an institutional shareholder of FedEx. I can't dictate that FedEx bring more jobs here. But what I can do is react to the feedback that we're getting from the business community, and not just in Memphis, but through the Greater Memphis Chamber, through Ted Townsend, through these relocation and headquarter firms that are giving us the feedback, telling us that our structure and the way that we operate creates turbulence and uncertainty in the marketplace, and that hurts us in the grading. So when we talk about things like pilots or tools in the toolbox, looking at a metropolitan government is one of the tools that's at our disposal. And so we owe it to the citizens and our constituents to at least explore that option.
The council and the county commission, each of your bodies are getting ready to move into the redistricting process. In your case, on the council side, Councilman, one of your colleagues, Martavius Jones, has said that in this process he intends to propose two things. He intends to propose a conversion of the city council that would eliminate the super district seats and go with 13 single member districts like the county commission has. And he also intends to at least talk about partisan primaries for city elections. Those are also two pretty dramatic changes just for city government. Are we in a season here of competing ideas, competing big ideas like that and like consolidation?
Well, I've read the articles, and I'm not sure what Councilman Jones intends to do fully. I do love that someone at the end of their term as a super district representative is now like, I don't like super districts, but sure. What I will say is that's the whole idea is we have all these ideas out there about the structure of government. Let's form a charter commission and let them have those discussions, bring in experts, do the research, and put forward a document that people can vote on. And here's to your point, out of that charter commission, even if it were to fail, maybe we're going to learn something that we can implement in our current structure that is to the benefit of the people.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Commissioner, the redistricting process. What does the commission do? If we're going to do this charter commission, do you guys just leave the lines where they are? Because there's also some lag time between if there's a charter commission and what they draft and when the voters vote on it, and then there's an effective date.
Come on, Bill. When has a politician not done something when they have a chance to do it? Sure, we're going to work on that. If the metro government become a reality, come what may. But right now, we have a responsibility to address this now, and that's what we're going to do.
Well said.
With consolidation, we talked about some of this, but just again, we're talking about a lot, and it's a very complicated process. And again, as you're talking about, what really is on the table here is creating a charter commission to explore all these things, right? You all don't have in your handy notebook there what you're trying to get past. It's more the creation of this process. But from your points of view, I mean, right now, and I'm going to do this in very simplistic terms, and y'all can correct me. I mean, if you think of the suburban areas, Germantown, Collierville, Millington, and so on, they're independent. They get a certain amount of funding and a certain amount of services from the county. The big part of that funding is I think would say school funding that passes through, but there are other services. Is the idea that the consolidated government would then have this, I guess would be the Memphis consolidated government, would have that relationship with, say, Millington, would have that that relationship with those suburban cities doesn't necessarily change.
No, that's exactly right. When we talk about a metropolitan form of government, we're really talking about, again, merging Memphis with the Shelby County government. So their relationship with the Shelby County government already provides them that relationship with Memphis. When you look at the current structure of the Shelby County Commission, 8 members and really 9 if you include Commissioner Billingsley District represent the city of Memphis. And so, there is an opportunity there to look at a structure that is mutually beneficial to both the county and the city.
You're the county commissioner, but I've heard some people raise concerns that a consolidated government would give less representation to the suburbs once that body were combined.
Yeah, and black people will lose power, white people will lose power, everybody's going to lose power, this will happen. The bottom line is that I've come across 3 groups of people. And one is that who immediately turned against this is that you have some politicians who are afraid that they're going to lose their phony baloney positions. You have people who are happy being the big fish in a small pond. And you have people who say, I don't care what happens to Memphis, or you have people in Memphis say, I don't care what happens to the municipalities. I don't listen to any of these people because they never build anything. The reality is that we have a challenge here. We have an opportunity to create something that may move us forward. Will it? I'm not married to Metro government. I'm not married to any of this, but I am divorced from apathy and from people who are naysayers.
Bill.
So 11 years ago, there were some ideas that came out of this. I believe that group called for a 25-member body. They called for the sheriff to be the keeper of the jails and of the corrections division and not be involved in law enforcement with the Metro Police Department. Are any of those ideas useful? Are any of those ideas, I mean, they really didn't go very far in terms of changes after the charter was turned down?
Well, no, in that case, but I still think that good things can come from these ideas, and I agree. I represent 80,000 people. We're in South Memphis, Orange Mound, Cooper Young, Odin Square, Central Garden, Chickasaw Garden, and Midtown. Come on. I would look at something smaller. I think it would give better representation to the public. So I'll throw my 2 cents in when the Charter Commission is formed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Commissioner Milton's right. I mean, look, the Charter Commission statutorily has to start with a blank slate, but there's no reason why they couldn't pull things that they find common sense into that document. But you know, I would hope that they would begin tabula rasa and that they would go and start and create with experts and community input. I think one of the important things that I've said publicly, and I'll just reiterate here, is that by statute, by the state law, is that the legislative intent of the Charter Commission is to be diverse and representative of both the principal city and the county from people from economically, politically, and socially diverse backgrounds. In an effort, you asked about it 3-1 last time, this has to be an all hands on deck. What do you really want to see out of your government structure that you think could be a benefit to your community? And I'll say this over and over again, compromise here, guys, is a good thing. We want people to come to the table in good faith to work on a way in which they really think their local government can benefit their community, and I think that that's possible.
Do you foresee any legal challenge of the dual referendum requirement?
I personally don't have any interest in challenging that. It goes back to, this is personal, it goes and speaks back to this shouldn't be a Memphis cram down or a Poplar Corridor cram down. This should be wanting people to come together. When you look at the TASER study that was published in 2003, Tennessee Advisory Commission on Intergovernmental Relations.
Okay.
That's one of those fun governmental acronyms. And they study all sorts of things for the Tennessee State Legislature. 5 reasons you should consider consolidation. Number 1, economic development. Number 5, harmony. Harmony. A council member talked about, I think in an article for the Daily Memphian, about how the city and the county don't get along. We don't play nice together. This is an opportunity for us to come together and figure out ways in which we could play nice together. We are one economy. I had a councilwoman talk about, well, what does Germantown's economy do that Memphis's doesn't? We're one economy. We're one economic region of which Memphis is the driving force behind that. If you've got industry out in Collierville or Bartlett, you're using Memphis International's airport and our infrastructure to transport. Memphis treats your sewage. Memphis provides electricity. And so we have to come together in ways in which are beneficial to all.
And if I may, real quick, you might have heard about this pandemic we had. I think it still is going on. Some don't believe that, but yeah, I do believe it's still going on. We had an issue trying to figure out, we have 2 good mayors, but there was confusion on how this was going to work and who was responsible for what. And that is an example. We can't afford for major disasters, major issues to appear, and there be question of who or what is in control.
With just a minute left here, and obviously we'll likely be doing other shows on this as we go forward, but I mentioned the school consolidation, deconsolidation. A big part of what happened there is that the state legislature came in and to some people saved the day, or to others changed the rules completely and stacked it for the suburban. We can re-litigate that, but what's done is done. Do you foresee changes in state law that could change or hamper this process?
I don't have a crystal ball, but I'll tell you, and I've been very consistent about this, despite public comment. I am not a fan of local intervention or state intervention in local politics.
Right.
Yeah. Same. Have you heard any noise from state legislators, others?
As of yet, no.
Okay. This is all moving. I think maybe we said this. This is all, again, September 7th, the City Council brings up, has a resolution on the agenda. All of it, if it moves forward, moves towards a November 22 referendum. More to come. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Councilman. And thank you for joining us. If you missed any of today's episode, you can get past episodes or this full episode at WKNO.org. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.